impure. Pure and impure. By default, pipes are defined as pure so that Angular executes the pipe only. Remember, what do you mean by pure pipe? Angular executes that pipe only when it detects a pure change to the input value. Alright? Either you change the search data or you change the list. Alright? A pure pipe gets executed only when Angular detects a pure change to the input value. Sometimes, very rare, you may come across some scenarios where I'll just log it. Right click, inspect. You see, we are in transform function. Now when you go and enter some text, then the transform function will be called. When you enter the text, that transform function will be called. When you enter the text, the transform function will be called. So when there is a change in the input data of that pipe gets called. Right? Because the pipe is what kind of pipe? It is a pure pipe. I'll place a button just for our understanding, just to give you more detailed knowledge into the subject. Button click is equals to on click, just say click me. Here, let's handle that. On click, console.log, or I can say alert also, that's okay. Alert user click on the button. User clicked on the button. Alright. Take out this. Pipe is called. We are in transform function. You see, pipe is called. I click on this button. When I click on this button, will the pipe be called? Will the pipe be called if I click on that button, guys?
No.
No. Ideally, pipe should not be called when I click on that button, because I am not changing any input that I have passed to the pipe when I click on this button. Resulting, though it gets called, that means the alert will be called, but transform function will not be called. Just check that. Transform function will not be called. Because pipe is what pipe? Yeah,
Custom
a
pipe.
pure pipe. Just a second, guys. So the pipe will not be called for any other events. Pipe will be called only when there is a change in the input that is passed to the pipe, because pipe is a pure pipe. There is another kind of pipe called as impure. So you will have pure, set it to false. But you should not do this, guys, until unless it is very much needed. What is the problem of this? See here. It will be called multiple times, and you say, now I'll enter such text. It will be called. But you click on this button. Did you see this output? Right, see here. Right now it is here. Observe this area closely. Now I click on this. Can you see this? A pipe will be called for any other event you trigger in the entire page. Because you made that pipe as what? You made that pipe as what?
False.
Impure. We made the pipe as what, guys? Impure.
Is it getting called two times? I mean, for each click?
Yes. Because there are multiple events that are happening. You're taking your mouse out, you are hovering that, so you're doing multiple things. So for all that, it will be called. Right? Remember, you may come across some scenarios where you may create an impure pipe, but you should be very careful. Alright, note down some notes, guys.
What are the scenarios when you play CS?
Note down the scenario, like notes, then you will get to know. Alright. Angular executes an impure pipe Angular executes an impure pipe every time it detects a change every time it detects a change with every keystroke with every keystroke or mouse movement. If you have a requirement like for any user activity, if you want to respond, then you may think of creating what, guys?
Impure pipe.
Impure pipe. Right? How do you make a pipe as impure? Just by setting this to false. Now, take down one assignment, guys. I have shown you how to use all these pipes. So take down an assignment. Two assignments basically here you will have. Assignment number 1 is create a custom pipe for sorting the data. I have shown you the pipe for searching. Right now you have to do it for what?
Sorting.
Sorting. And second one is write an example to demonstrate a sink pipe. A sink pipe. Right, this is about the concept of what, guys?
Pipes.
Pipes. Is that clear?
Yes.
Alright, let us start our discussion with the next concept called as directives. Alright, so again, start with some notes.
It's 11 o'clock.
Directives are classes. Directives are classes. That add additional behavior or maybe just a second guys, just stop it, don't do that. We'll discuss right one small topic before we get into directives. Right? Start with something called as event binding guys. Let's start a discussion with something called as what?
Event binding.
Event binding. Right? As I have explained you, we have different kinds of bindings, right? Source to view, view to source, two-way, right? Out of that, I have shown you about model binding and I have shown you interpolation, and we have seen properties, using properties and passing the data, right? So now, ideally, we have seen event binding as well, right? But let me explain them explicitly. Alright, so this is username, and then maybe let's add a button. Click is equals to demo func. Ideally, let's not do this way. Let's make it a little professional. Now our requirement is when user clicks on that login button, I want to pass username and password. It can be username, password, or it can be any other. That means what I mean to say is username is the value that user enters in this text box. Password is the value that user enters in this text box. It can be any other data as well to that matter, right? What is the color of the text box? What is the width? What is the height, right? Whatever you want, right? Let it be anything. So what is our requirement is on click of that button, we want to pass the data from view to the source. This is the source. So let's say here I will have parameters. Here we will have parameters. So username and password. Alert username is uname and password is password. Password is this. Till now, whatever we have seen, it was always from source to view and maybe two-way binding. Now our requirement is the other way. Now the requirement is the other way, from view to source. So user will enter data here and then that data needs to be passed. Now how do we do that? So while calling this function, how do you access value of this? Value of this is, what we do is, to this inputs, not only that is applicable to inputs, it is applicable to any HTML element to that matter. You can give a reference as, you can give a reference. How do we give the reference? By prefixing that with hash, any name. Just you name it as what you name. Hash PWD, whatever you would like to give. Right? You A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. And then on click of this, what do? We say uname dot. How do you get the value of a text box, guys? What property will give you the value?
Dot value or text.
Dot. You
Value.
basically have something called as
Not value.
value. And then we also have to pass what?
Password. Password.
Right? So do we give hash? Ideally, no. Hash is just when we are creating the reference value. On login, uname.value, pwd.value. Alright, so now let's go here, reload this. We don't need this, so provide username, password. Click on this login. You can see we have username and password. So we are passing the data from where to where?
View to source.
View to source. See, it need not to be, just you need not to pass only a value. So we can pass test func, right? So you can pass entire object also. Test button. So this input is what? Your entire input object, the text box.
So the any represents a dynamic property.
Come again.
The input you have mentioned that data type as any, so it is a
Yes,
dynamic
yes.
property.
It can be anything.
Okay.
Right now, regime 1, 2, 3. Now click on this test button. You see, you get that entire input. Right now, you can go to sources in the app component.ts. Place a breakpoint there. Click on that. Now you see you have your entire text box object. So whatever the property value that you would need, you can get everything. So where do we have the value? Value will be there. In which property? These are the events. You see, this is the value. Type is text. Value is this. These are the properties. Scroll height, scroll width, right? All that entire input data you will have when you pass it that way. So you can pass either this one, simple text, or you pass the entire object, whatever you want, you pass it. Now, just to show you, right now I am calling this on click of this. Key up. So we can call that even on what scenario, guys? Key up. What key? If user enters, that means if user press which key, enter, call the same. Just whatever you wanna call. So usually what happens in many cases is this happens for which field? Password. For example, if you take Gmail, you provide username, you provide password, you press enter directly. You don't go and click on button. Still it works. Yes or no? Not sure if any one of you have observed the same or not. You don't need to press on the button. After you provide the password, you press enter. It will automatically take you there. So how it happens? They'll handle this. Now you go here, regime 1, 2, 3. I'm pressing enter. I'll not go and click on that button. You can see username, password. You can raise different events. Right now I raised key up dot enter. For example, if I want to raise on blur, also you can say blur and then pass the event. Like this you can trigger different events, and when you're triggering different events, you can pass data to that. This binding is called as which binding, guys?
Event binding.
Event binding, right? So I'll go on mute and I want you to note down these things. This is not complex, so just simple things. So that the reason why I take time and give you that opportunity to note down is, or to give some notes is, you'll understand and you will remember things, right? So just note down this, guys.
Done.
Clear, guys?
Yes.
Right? So now, sorry. Now let's start our discussion with the concept called as what? Directives. Right? So now start making the notes, guys. Directives are classes that adds additional behavior additional behavior to elements that adds additional behavior to elements in our Angular application. There are three kinds of directives in Angular. There are three kinds of directives in Angular. Components, attribute directives, structural directives. Components are the most common of the three directives. Components are directives, directives, that are used with a template. Structural directives, change the DOM layout, change the DOM layout, by adding and removing DOM elements. ngFor and ngIf are examples of structural directive. Attribute directives change the appearance or behavior of an element. Attribute directives are used as attributes of elements. ng class, ng style are examples of ng model is also an example of what case?
Attribute directives.
Attribute directives.